Jim.
See the markings crashed into the west side of the Pentagon near the heliport.
This is a live picture we're just getting here. This is the firefighters battling the blaze at the Pentagon. Look at that.
So you can see the damage.
This is just going to be raw tape that Dave Statter and his crew are
just feeding into us.
You can see this apparent terrorist attack. A jet slammed into the Pentagon about 15-20 minutes ago, the helipad side on 395. About 15-20 minutes ago, the helipad side on 395. We have no word yet on casualties. The Pentagon has been evacuated, as has the White House and the U.S. Capitol building at Blair Mansion.
Before this happened at the Pentagon, President Bush went on the air to talk about the response, the U.S. response in light of the World Trade Center. But again, this is what happened right after he said we were going to hunt down the folks responsible for the apparent terrorist attack in New York City. And shortly after that, this is what happened at the Pentagon in Arlington. We're just getting across the wires in Los Angeles. Police departments there are on tactical alert, but there have been no threats in Los Angeles that police are aware of. But as you can imagine, major American cities are on heightened alert. And Los Angeles is saying we are in citywide tactical alert and have mobilized their anti-terrorist division. Let's go back to Dave Statter with more from the site of the Pentagon. Dave.
Can you hear me now?
We can.
All right, I'm here with Michael Kelly, who was a witness to this attack at the Pentagon. I'm going to let him describe what he saw here, I guess about 20 minutes ago with me, Michael Kelly. First of all, let me just first describe the scene. This is the west side of the Pentagon, the heliport side off of Washington Boulevard. Were you driving or what?
Yes, I was in the traffic on the 14th Street Bridge, right at the Pentagon, tied up going into town, and I heard this plane come over my head. It was really low.
What size plane?
It sounded like a small plane, but it was very, very low. And the next thing I know, there was this tremendous explosion as it hit the Pentagon. I looked over, and the smoke started coming up. Pieces of the plane and pieces of the Pentagon were falling onto the 14th Street, onto the Shirley Highway. Very scary. So I decided not to go across the 14th Street Bridge. I came around, and I wound up here, stopped in the traffic right at the Pentagon. I was trying to get back over to Memorial Bridge, but no
Had you
luck.
known about the World Trade Center?
Oh, yeah, I was listening to WTOP radio the whole time, and then this thing came right over my head, and it plowed. It was clearly a similar situation to what happened in New York.
There are injured people here. We can't tell you how many. We've certainly seen
as well. It's a camera that we don't control, but it's showing you there are active flames at the Pentagon, and you can see obviously some of the workers there watching this incredible scene unfold there at the Pentagon. We'll try to get you a number on exactly how many people do currently work in that building, but it is a major complex there in Virginia.
And the two things that we have been reporting so far is a radio reporter from the Associated Press saying he saw what he quoted as a large airliner diving directly for this building, and also a report from the Associated Press, which would be fortunate if were the case, that it may have hit the helicopter landing pad outside the building instead of going inside this building, which is made up, as you know, at one time perhaps still is the world's largest office building by space.
There is a gigantic black billowing cloud of smoke that is rising over the Pentagon. You heard Jamie McIntyre a moment ago describe where that was coming from. I can also tell you that local radio, in addition to talking about evacuations, as we've heard at the Pentagon, the White House is reporting that the Capitol building has been evacuated and the Treasury Department has been evacuated. Washington, D.C., the nation's capital, is exceptionally tense and clearly taking steps as if it is virtually under siege here. We don't know specifically, as you said, what has taken place at the Pentagon, but this is very serious, striking at the heart of the national government. And as John King was explaining, the White House
Frank,
itself...
it's Aaron. I need to interrupt you for a second. Again, there has been a second explosion here in Manhattan at the Trade Center. We are getting reports
that is being evacuated, perhaps just as a precaution.
You're looking at the scene there. On the right-hand side, there are some new developments in New York City. We do believe that there was another blast after the two that rocked the Twin Towers, the World Trade Center towers. We are trying to determine now if this was a consequence of one of those two earlier attacks, or perhaps this was a separate explosion.
Or it was a separate explosion.
Right.
That's what we're trying to sort out. But it's beginning to appear that there was a separate explosion, but again, that cannot be sorted out at this moment.
And all these attacks apparently precipitated by the hijacking of commercial aircraft. And in one case, a 767 from on a flight from Boston to Los Angeles. We do not have any sort of specifics on the plane that may have hit the Pentagon. Boston to Los Angeles. We do not have any sort of specifics on the plane that may have hit the Pentagon, or as to the second plane rather, that hit the World Trade Center. But this in itself would be a very dramatic development. Aircraft hijackings in the United States is not something that has happened in recent time, at least in terms of large commercial aircraft.
Of course, yeah, we do have Audrey Barnes back now on the phone. She has a view of the Pentagon. So, Audrey, yeah, there she is now. So, Audrey, tell us where you are and what you can see.
Okay, if you look over my shoulder, you can see the Pentagon is still on fire right now. I'm right beside it. You can see hundreds of Pentagon employees have been evacuated from that building, and it is still burning right now. Most of the fire, you can see the flames shooting up behind that little guard shack there. There are hundreds of people on the lawn, and every 5 seconds another emergency vehicle goes by to try to get this fire under control. We have seen employees trying to console each other. People are walking around in absolute shock. We have seen employees trying to console each other. People are walking around in absolute shock and disbelief. Now, we were at the State Department right when this happened. We saw State Department police running out of the building, telling everybody, get away. And I look up and see this giant plume of smoke coming from the Pentagon. So we got over here, and this is what we found, the Pentagon on fire there. Still quite a scene of devastation out here. People really don't even know which way to go. They've gone away from the building. Now people are running back towards the building. Just a scene of utter chaos out here.
We've just received word that they are have shut down the 14th Street Bridge and the Memorial Bridge shut down.
The bridge is shut down. People are being able to pass by the Pentagon heading into the district, but there's no traffic going towards 395, towards Richmond, or 244. That's all shut down.